All right, well, welcome back to Retire Right with Epstein White. Once again, I am Brad White. So for this week's retirement tip of the week, what a perfect place to start, which is, do you actually have enough to retire? Or as we're going to phrase it, is what is your magic number? The proverbial question that everybody wants to know as they're doing or thinking about any form of retirement planning is, can I actually retire? Or what do I need to retire? Now, you'll hear all sorts of numbers, which is, hey, you need $1 million, or that's not enough, or I've heard I need this. And so that's what we're going to teach you right now, is how you actually apply and understand what your specific number is to retire the way that you specifically want to. Now, one of the biggest misnomers of this whole thing is it's not about a lump sum number. It's not about a total amount of savings that you're trying to get to. A successful retirement, when you think about that at its core, a successful retirement is really about generating and having the amount of income that you specifically need to do all the things that you want to do to live your life and enjoy retirement. So this 6-step process of how you find your magic number is step number 1, most importantly, is what is your income goal each month? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus right up here on an actual example of a retirement income plan for a 65-year-old couple. Their income goal was $8,000 a month. So what you're going to be able to see up here is that $8,000 number. That represents step 1 of this process. From there is where we've got to understand what income sources are already coming in. You'll see again, kind of right over here, income sources. This particular couple has that pension you'll see there of about $1,500 a month. Then beyond that is maybe a couple different ways they would choose to take their Social Security. For this first example, we're going to show them taking their Social Securities at age 65, where one of them would get $2,000 a month and the other would get $1,500 a month. Now, the next step in the process, that was step 2, the next step is to start to make assumptions. The first assumption we want to make is inflation. Okay, if this particular couple is looking for $8,000 a month, they need to make sure their buying power stays the same over time. We typically suggest using 3% per year as a good number for how your income can continue to increase by 3% every year. Basically, it means they'll continue to feel the same as that $8,000 starting point, even as inflation is occurring over time. The next step 4 after that process is to make a longevity assumption. Okay, of course, none of us know how long we're going to be fortunate enough to live. This particular couple wanted to see age 90. Okay, so you'll see this kind of 25-year plan behind me, which represents for them what their plan looks like, taking it out to age 90. Okay, the next step beyond that, or after that, I should say, is how much money you still want to see in your plan at that time, right? This couple didn't want to just know that at age 90 they had spent down all of their retirement assets. They wanted to see that $500,000 number that you're going to see behind me. So that was the number that they particularly chose. The final assumption that we have to make here is just rates of return. Now, I want you to be very careful here, okay? In today's very low interest rate world, in a market that's already climbed 200+% since the depths of the recession, I would really caution you not to use 8 or 9 or 10% lofty rates of returns. We use lower rates of returns for some of the monies we know we're going to use sooner rather than later. We can get a little bit better rates of return on some of those monies we're not going to need for those first 10 or 15 or 20 years of retirement. So when we make all those assumptions, when we do those 6 steps, that is where this couple's magic number is now that $800,000 number that you're going to see there. That is what this couple needs to save. They actually know if they're on track. Do they have $800,000? Well, if they do, then beautiful. Because even under a lot of conservative assumptions, they know they're perfectly on track to live a long, successful retirement. If they don't have $800,000 in savings, well, then maybe we need to reduce that income or lower the amount that's going to be there at 90. There's a few things we start doing from there. And of course, if you're someone who hasn't retired yet, we do a similar exercise and we figure out how much you're going to need to have in the future, what you have now, what you'll still need to save to see if you're on track to get your magic number in retirement. So coming up next on the show is we are going to tackle this week's myth, right? There's retirement myths out there. This week's myth is how you should really choose your Social Security.